I had seen or heard about Marysville and Melbourne well before it was really publicised, so I really put it in my calendar as a target race. Did a lot of lead up training up here, really made it a focus, and fortunately for me, had a really good day. You know pretty early on in the race how you're going to go and how your legs are going, because there's a lot of legs, and I think it got to the top of the first hill and the legs went fantastic, and I was smiling and pretty happy, and the whole race just went to plan really, so I came away with a win.
My name's Peri Gray. I've been in adventure racing for only 2.5 years, so I'm pretty new to the sport. I came from a triathlon background, having some success in that area. I then kind of got bored of running and riding on the road and kind of caused a fair bit of injury, so thought I'd go into adventure racing, and then never looked back at doing triathlons since. I love being in the bush and love all the different places you get to see and all that kind of stuff. I heard about the Marysville to Melbourne race. I knew it would be a bit of a longer race and a little bit more challenging to the races I'd previously done, because I'd only done the shorter adventure style races. So I made this a focus for my racing last year, to have a go and see if I'd enjoy it and what I'd get out of it and if I'd do any good. I guess to me, I kind of looked at it as a Ironman of triathlon, so it was like the Ironman of adventure racing, because I was keen to do an Ironman when I did triathlons, and I kind of thought this would be the step, sort of getting close to doing a similar kind of distance time-wise. So yeah, I trained for that and went out, had a good day, and ended up with a second. So for me that was a good result, because I was kind of just going out with no expectations of knowing how I'd go or what result I'd get, what the competition would be like, or how I'd feel. So to get a second was really good. Of course I'd like to go one better. To have a win would be awesome. So the start of the race starts with a bit of a killer run. It's about 20k, and it starts with a good decent climb at the start, and you want to make sure that a lot of people think it's a lot shorter than it is, and it's actually a lot longer than you think. So you want to save some energy and not go out hard with all the people who just sprint at the start, because you really need to save some energy also for the killer climb at the end. So
if you're not warmed up when you start the race at 6:15 in the morning, you're really going to suffer on that first hill, and it's quite a decent climb. It's a pretty nice surface. It's the really main climb of the whole run. You get up the top and it undulates for a long time, probably about the first 10k is undulating. You get on a gravel road, mixture of gravel roads, some four-wheel drive tracks, and then the last 10k is on a gravel road undulating. You get to the Dom Saddle and you can see the finish from the 10k point, and then you got a real kicker at the end, right before the transition.
Everyone sort of hits the pace a little bit more, and I'm kind of thinking, oh god, do these guys know there's a bit of a killer hill coming? And then you hit the killer hill that we're on now, and that goes for probably about 1.5 km. Look, if I was at the if it was my first time I was doing the race, I would probably walk most of that hill, knowing that you've got a really big bike leg coming up. Also still, if you're pointy end of the hill at the end of the, pointy end of the field, I'd walk half of it as well, which I did last year, because it's a really decent hill and your legs are pretty tired by then. So
even the elite people probably wouldn't try and run this one. It's just that gradient that you can burn a lot of energy for really not much gain just before the transition. So really use it to think about what you're going to do in the transition, how you're going to get ready for the bike. I used it last year, pulled my arm warmers up, knew I had a plan of I've got to do my shoes, get my helmet on and go. No hanging around in transition. So that's what I used the run for, or the last hill for, and it's probably my best advice for the whole run league. Hill repeats. I know repeats is really a word people don't want to hear very often, but you just got to do it. At least one hill repeat session a week, and then make your long run on the weekend hilly. That'll really get your legs, and not so much a really steep hill, more of a runnable hill, and keep the length, about 5 minutes long is pretty good either side of that.
I think it's also good to make sure that you don't only do hill repeats, that you also practice descending, because I found that really hurt the legs, because you had tired legs from climbing the hills, then you also had to go downhill, and it's a decent downhill. It goes for quite a long time, so you want to make sure you also know how to descend and not just ascend. Descend well, I think it really requires lots of strength in your legs, so also a gym program would be really good that focuses on maybe the smaller muscles in your legs, not necessarily the big muscles like the quads and the hammies. You also want to focus on the smaller muscles because they're the ones that really take the impact as well. And a lot of the time people don't have the strength in those muscles, which is what I found last year for myself. And so this year I'm really trying to work on building up those muscles. So this year I've got the strength in my legs to be able to hold it on the descents as well as the ascents.
I tell all the people I coach to get out here as much as you can, and we're really lucky living close to the course we can. And you get to know exactly the type of gradient hill you're running. You get timing points, so you know when you can have a drink or you can have something to eat easy, and you're not worried about falling over down a full drive track or losing other people. It's getting on the course is really important, especially on this first run.
So this is the second run. It starts at Westerfolds Park. It's a pretty friendly run. It starts on some gravel, quite a wide sort of fire trail, and then you pretty much just follow the river all the way along. It's very flat, not even very undulating. I could say the whole run is really flat. It depends on how you feel and how you really take this run. If you feel good, it's probably a good opportunity to give a little bit if you need to make up some time. If you're not feeling so good, it's also a run where you can kind of just cruise along, enjoy it, have a chat to a few people if you feel like it, and then you kind of end the run in Ivanhoe. Up to you if you take some water or not. If it's a hot day, I'd probably advise you take a little bit of water, a fuel belt or something like that. But other than that, you don't really require a lot. If you have something to eat and transition before you start it, you're probably ready to go and just follow the run through all the way to the end to Ivanhoe.
Too much to do in the city, gonna send you a letter.